So the Pittsburgh Steelers have a forgotten player, a guy nobody's talking about. But guess what? He is about to zoom up this depth chart. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're expecting a huge jump from former Michigan wideout Roman Wilson. This is as he enters his second year in Pittsburgh. And if you look back on him, I think most of us as fans, most of you guys, kind of forgot what kind of player he was from the University of Michigan. He was the leading receiver on that team during the 23 national championship run, right? But then he had a series of injuries last year in his rookie season that sidelined him for all but one game, right? But now that you're in year two, the reports out of Pittsburgh are that Wilson looks like an absolutely different player. And I'm going to further back that up by looking at what ESPN's Jeremy Fowler had to say about who Roman Wilson is going to be this year. Team is counting on Roman Wilson in year two to make that jump. This offseason, he looks like a different player than from his injury-ridden rookie campaign. And you know what? Somebody's got to step up, right? Roman Wilson has got to step up because George Pickens is now off to Dallas, right? Absolutely no question that the Steelers could definitely use a highly productive season from one Roman Wilson. And if you kind of look at him as a player, and I'm going to get to that in just a moment. Welcome. This is Sports Talk Steelers. This is a rapidly growing channel, really new channel. You guys have been awesome. If you haven't, as of yet, hit the subscribe button. Would love to have you here. And I'm here to provide an outsider's view of your Pittsburgh Steelers because I'm primarily a Bears guy with a Bears channel. Check it out. But Justin Fields came to your team. I started getting really intrigued. Before I knew it, I was doing a Steelers channel. So I'm going to continue to be here with an outsider's view on your Pittsburgh Steelers on a daily basis. So let's kind of look at Roman Wilson a little bit, and I'm telling you, this guy is absolutely built for the slot, really good quickness, and he's a guy that can operate quickly in the middle of the field. Now, he has some experience on the outside, but I really don't hate putting him in the slot and having Austin stretch the field. And if you've heard the term no block, no rock, Austin, excellent blocker, and playing for a coach like Jim Harbaugh at the University of Michigan, a predominantly run-based offense. Well, blocking is an absolute necessity if you play for him, and I think it's greatly underestimated the kind of player the Steelers have in Wilson. He's really overlooked. And let's be real, too. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they have a knack, a history of finding absolutely great receivers, such a good eye for talent, especially outside of the first round. And let's remember a little more who he was coming out of the draft. 84th overall. And the book on him coming out of the draft, an absolute technician running routes, great athleticism, great guy that wins down the field vertically, nice yak guy. A little undersized, though, at 5'10", 186 pounds, but really good speed. He ran a 4.39 at the Combine. And then at the Senior Bowl, he was really making noise, and he was high-pointing the ball like a madman in camp last year before that unfortunate injury during OTAs. So injury led to a lost rookie season, really too bad. And there are also some rumblings that he wasn't ready as a rookie. He hadn't quite absorbed the playbook, but I think there's plenty of time for him to have done so by now. And absolutely everyone out of Pittsburgh is saying that he looks like a totally different player and is about to step up big time. And Jeremy Fowler, he backs that up. So there just seems to be with the Steelers lately, overlooking character concerns and balancing that with the athletic talent and really kind of making the wrong choice on some players. You get situations like George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool. So say what you will about your projection on Roman Wilson. He's a great guy for the locker room as well. So someone's going to have to step up here, right? Austin isn't a number 2 so far, in my opinion. He can be number 2 for this year, but I think he's ideally suited to be the number 3 or 4, a situational player to catch the field. He really took off last year, though, so who's to judge? But in the same draft class as George Pickens, who else is on the team? You've got Robert Woods, not really someone that you can rely on at this point in his career. He's more of a locker room guy, like a coach in the locker room, I think, for these young guys. You got Scotty Miller. You've got Ben Skowronek. Wilson, he very well might be bounced outside as the number 2. It's still early in this offseason. And also, maybe the number 2 actually has been on the team this whole time because you've got Pat Freiermuth, who has just been a stud. So first things first, Wilson, he's going to have to beat out Calvin Austin if he wants to be the number 2 or the number 3 receiver. Not guaranteed because the uncertainty with Wilson and Austin coming off a career year. But that said, the opportunity for Wilson to have a big role in this offense, it's right here for the taking. All he has to do is ball out here. And based on Fowler's report, it appears he's moving in the right direction toward that goal, right? We're looking at last year. The Michigan product suffered a sprained ankle in training camp last year, ultimately led him to not getting on the field really at all. I think he played just a handful of snaps. But he was drafted at the time last year, if you remember. He was drafted, former national champion. He was drafted to be a difference maker. And he was being projected as the possible number 2 on this team before camp. I think he's going to make the jump in 2025. Once again, he predominantly played the slot at Michigan. That's the likely role I see him filling for the Steelers. But if he takes a big jump, similar to what Calvin Austin did in 2024, the Steelers' wide receiving core, it's not going to look even half as bad as it's looking right now. Actually, it could end up being a team strength. I can't wait for the comments on this one. So during his time at Michigan, Wilson, he actually proved himself to be one of the best wide receivers in an absolutely loaded Big Ten conference. Started all 15 games in 2023, led the Wolverines with 789 yards and 12 touchdowns on 48 receptions. That's a ton of yards for 48 receptions. Really good yak guy. And although these numbers don't really jump off the page, you got to remember that Michigan offense was predominantly an offense that leaned heavily on the run. And that's really hard for a wideout to achieve eye-popping numbers. But the eye test, man, Wilson was a stud on the field, passed the eye test in Ann Arbor, routinely made big-time plays when Michigan needed it most. The guy was just a baller. And I think it's that playmaking ability that brought the Steelers to using a 3rd-round pick on him. And I think if he remains healthy in 2025, I think there's no reason to believe that he can't be a stud for this team. There's no reason to believe that he can't be a really big factor in this offense. And if Calvin Austin continues to make that leap that he started last year, he actually had some pop on special teams as well, and pair him with a Roman Wilson that's ready to do what he was slated to do when the Steelers drafted him in the 3rd round. You really might have something here with Pat Freiermuth, why did I say that? Pat Freiermuth balling out at tight end. You've got a stud at running back with Caleb Johnson. Warren's still there. The offensive line is going to gel. Let's pray for not very many injuries this year, unlike last year. And I think the defense is ready to roll with all the fortification on the defensive line, especially at defensive tackle with Harmon, that was achieved during the draft. So I think this team is actually ready to roll. Let's see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is a jump up as far as talent. Is it a jump up in the locker room? I'm not sure. But kind of let me know in the comments who is the most underrated draft pick in your time as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And also, maybe drop a note if you are convinced that Mason Rudolph can carry the water for the year. Appreciate you guys. I'll continue to be here with daily Pittsburgh Steelers news, and we'll talk soon. See ya.